All right, I think we're going to go ahead and get started. Today is Introduction to SolidCAM Part 1, the settings. Things have changed a little bit in 2014, so we have an older video for the 2013 and before, but the settings are a little bit different, so we're going to go ahead and go through those. Not all of them, but we'll go through quite a few to get you familiar with them. First things first, though, if you have your UAC set up, so this is the way to check it. Into your search program and files, type in UAC. By default, if you haven't been in here before, they're set at the 3/4 hatch mark. I'll go ahead and drop that all the way down and reboot your computer. Now, you don't have to do that right now if you want to follow along, but before you start using SolidCAM or InventorCAM, you're going to want to drop that all the way down. So I already have. It usually requires you to reboot your computer, so let's go ahead and jump into the CAM settings here. Now, they're a little bit different now if you're not used to the 2014 version. We've broken them out and we've added some and changed some. So we're going to go ahead and go through just like we do on in the 2013 video. So, well, starting with user directories, that's the same. Actually, let's go ahead and reset this here. So I want to reset all these paths to what they are or what they should be on your system if you haven't reset any of them. By default, it wants to go into the user's public folder. Not a big fan of that place for several reasons. So what I like to do is I copy out both my GPP tool folder and my tables folder out of that location. So if we go into C, Users, Public, Documents, SolidCAM, and then of course InventorCAM, you're going to have GPP tool, which is your post folder, and your table folders, which houses a bunch of other folders and files in there. So files that you'll be changing as you're working. So what you want to do is copy these two folders. If this is where you're installed, copy these out of here. Preferably put them on a D drive or a local hard drive that gets backed up, which mine does. You can also put them on the network drive, which is fine, but just keep in mind that if there's network traffic, you can see a slowdown in your system while you're working with it. So what we're going to do is we're going to copy those, and I already have. I've copied them to the D drive, and I put them right here in my GPP and my tables. So now I can path to them right here, and they're on a local drive. So that's what we're going to do. Let's go ahead and user directory. Starting off with this first one is your top hierarchy folder. So it probably is best to path that to a place where you keep all your customer files, because when you go to open up a project, this is the first place it's going to look. If you go to save a project, if you're creating a new project and you want it saved somewhere, by default it wants to save it here, unless you check mark the box that says keep it in the same directory as your IPT file. So for this, I'm going to go ahead and path it to my D drive. And I actually have some customer files, but I have some demo files that I'm going to go ahead and path to, which are in Inventor. So I'm just going to put it right there. Again, that's a preference. You put it wherever you want. But these next three, they do need to go to a specific place. If you hover over it, you can see this one's going to, actually it's going to metric. So before I go any further, because I want to be an inch, I'm going to go to my units, and I'm going to simply change it to inch. Going back here and hovering over there, you can see that the back end of it is changed to inch now. So it's wanting to go into the tables inch folder. So I'm going to browse to that location for the new place that I put it. So on my D drive, I'm going to tables inch. With this one, same thing, except that it's looking for an Excel spreadsheet threading table in the inch table folder. So again, let's go ahead and browse to the D drive, or there, D drive, tables, inch, and it's looking for threading standard inch right there. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that. I should be on the D drive. I am. And this one simply is pathed to the iDatabase folder. The iDatabase is your iMachining material library. So go right to the iDatabase, D, tables, iDatabase. All right. Moving on down to units. We've already set our units here, so there's really nothing else to do in here. So going down to default CNC controller. Now this is the GPP tool folder that we moved. So basically this is the old location. We want to put it into the new location. So let's go ahead and go GPP tool. If you get revisions to your posts or you get new posts, you're going to want to put them in that folder. So now if you'd like, you can default some posts to your favorite machine. So if you have some milling machines and you have a particular post you want to default to, go ahead and select it so that every time you start a new milling project, this is the post that comes up first. That's the one that it's defaulted to. For turning, I'm going to go ahead and use one of my lathe posts. For mill turn, I'm going to go ahead and grab one of those. Now, you may not all do all these, and you don't have to set them all. Just set the ones that you need. Moving on to GCode. GCode can be produced in a lot of different places, just about anywhere. Right now, I'm set to in the CAM part directory. That means when I post GCode, it automatically puts it in the same directory as where my CAM part is, which is what most people want. But you can put it in the folder where the PRP file is, which is one of the post files. I assume this is probably going to be going away pretty soon. I believe they're getting rid of this, so there's only going to be 2 basic files, a VMID and a GPP file for your post. So I'm not sure what's going to happen there. Most people don't do that anyway. If you want a particular location, some companies require you to put GCode in a very specific location. You can simply say in the GCode directory and path to a place. Mine, I like them in the same part directory here. Not really anything else to do in here except for pathing to a preferred GCode editor. Right now we'll default to Notepad. You can have WordPad. You can have anything that edits GCode, any kind of text editor. I have a particular one that I use. It is a 32-bit one, so it's in here. It's called Edit NC. It's one I prefer. It's a very quick editor, but it gives me a lot of tools. I can also DNC from that. And if you're interested, just shoot me an email on this. We actually, I know the guy that creates this, and he gives it to me for free, but I think it's about $100 or $200 if you're interested in it, and it's a great editor. But anyway, GCode simulation. Now, if you happen to have GCode simulation, Vericut, IMS Verify, NCView, DMG, or GNAVI, you can path to the simulators and stuff so that when you go into GCode verification, or when you want access to it, you can get into there from inside our system. I don't use a GCode verifier. We do have machine simulation, but that's still not technically a GCode editor or verifier. So, but this is what this is for. Let's move on. Okay, CAM parts. You can work 3 different ways now. Well, actually, in InventorCAM, sorry, we're not into that version yet. There are 2 different ways to work. You can work in compressed mode, or you can work in non-compressed mode. Both of these modes follow the ISO 9000 rules, so you can use either one. I can tell you that in compressed mode, you'll end up with an IPT file, which is your main inventor file, and you'll end up with a zip file with an extension of PRZ. So it'll be the name of the project.prz. It's a zip file. You can unzip it. That's in compressed mode. If you're in non-compressed mode, and I don't work in compressed mode, you'll end up with 3 files. You'll have the IPT file, the PRT instead of a PRZ file, PRT, and then a folder of the same name. So the PRT file in the folder is your CAM project. The PRT file manages all the files inside the folder. So that's what you'll see in a non-compressed environment. Now, in a compressed environment, it has to be uncompressed while you're working on it. So there will be a temporary folder somewhere where it's uncompressed to until you close it. Excuse me. Until you close it, and then it zips the file up automatically. Okay. So I like to path that to a particular spot that I know where it's at, somewhere where I can get to very quickly, somewhere where it's manageable, that I know if I need to get to a tool library that's inside my folder and I want to copy that out, I know exactly where it's at. So I like to path it to just a basic temp drive somewhere. All right. And of course your zip factor or compression is right here. Automatic CAM part for definition. This is for 2 different options. You have 5 different ways of creating stock inside InventorCAM. One of those is the box option, and one of those is the sorry, one's a box and one's a cylinder option. There's 3 other ways, but in accordance to the stock and the cylinder option, you can have it automatically create an automatic box around there or an automatic cylinder around your part, and then you can define it by these values if you want it slightly bigger than the part, if you'd like. Now, by default, I like to turn those off. That's just my preference. However, if you're always starting a project on one single file, then this might be a good option to set, because then you don't have to go in and select it each time. I don't mind selecting each time. It doesn't take very long. But if you're always working with one file, not an assembly, but just a single file, it's not a bad idea to leave that on, because it gives you a few less clicks when you're setting up your CAM project. Turning, same thing. I actually turn off my fixtures. I turn off both definition of target and stock, and I do that with mill turn as well. However, I do like to create my coordinate systems automatically. It says create machine setup, as well as fixture and clamp. Actually, I don't even like that, so turn that off. Create coordinate system for each sub-machine and opposite side of sub-machine with sub-spindle. So this is a way of creating your coordinate systems if you happen to be in mill turn. Of course, you can edit those once you've set them up. This is just the way I prefer to set it, because I like having the control when I go to do it. Now, this doesn't mean that if you had all this set up that you don't have control. You do, but you have to simply remove the stock and then add a new one. So just an extra couple of steps, not a big deal. Coordinate system. There is 2 things in here that we need to do. Tool start level shouldn't be turned on in your post if you want to find out if it is, and it's really not something necessary for a 3-axis post. But if it is turned on, put in a weird value here, post out some code, see if that value comes out. If it is coming out and you don't want it, just let us know, and we can eliminate that from your post. This clearance level delta is actually the rapid plane, so I usually generally set that at 1. We talked about stock definition. This is for your box, and this is for your cylinder, so you can put in some values here if you'd like as a default. Oops, maybe 250. There we go. Synchronization. There are several ways to work with synchronization. You don't have to synchronize your part to your CAM project at all if you don't want to, but that is a very, very powerful feature of InventorCAM. Do you want your CAM project, after you've already created your CAM project, to update if you get a revision? If the answer is yes, then you're definitely going to want to check synchronization always. This will keep it tied to the original model, so that when you get a revision on your original model, it will update your CAM project, and then in turn update your G-code. Now, whether it updates your G-code automatically or you do it manually, you're going to want to check synchronize automatically and calculate the operations after the synchronization if you want to be in fully automatic mode. What I recommend is that you don't check these for a little while and get used to the way the system works. What would happen right now if I didn't set this is that if I created a CAM project and created G-code, and then my original file changed, and they said, okay, go open up your CAM project again because the original file has changed. I open it up. It's going to notify me that something has changed. And I can say, yes, I want to see those changes. I open it up. Because I do not have these check marked, it would not automatically update my toolpath. But it would put a yellow lightning bolt over the top of the stock, the target, or any one of the toolpaths that have been affected by that change. Then I can go in there and I can put a little check right next to the toolpath to see what it looks like, what the old toolpath looked like. Then if I decide, okay, I want to regenerate it now, I can simply right-click on it and say synchronize and recalculate. So basically, it's a way of me looking at the model previous to what the changes were and then what they're going to be like. If I check mark both of these, then as soon as I open up the model, it just automatically synchronizes and recalculates all my toolpath. I generally don't use ask before synchronization check. In my opinion, it becomes overbearing, and I'm always having to click yes, 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 and I just don't use it. So I do want to check ask user to find original model. This is if the file changes location, the original file changes location, or it changes names, then it's going to ask you, hey, I can't find the original model. Where did you put it, or what is it called? And you simply pick the new model. Very easy. And if you'd like to associate, let's say you have a file called test, that was the original file, and then you got a new one, they called it test rev A. Well, you could simply path to the new version to update your toolpath as well. Clean up CAM part. There's a feature when you're all done working where you can clean up the CAM part when you're all done, get rid of tools, extra stock, extra boundary curves, stuff like that. That's on your right-click menu on your tree. This can be done automatically if you clean up on part on closing all the time. You may or may not want to do that. I like to do it manually when I think about it. Toolpath simulation. You have 8 different simulation modes when you go into verify. If you don't have machine simulation, which by the way only comes in a 5-axis software package, or if you purchase it individually. So if you don't have it, you can deselect it. There's no reason to see it in your 8 different options. And you might find that you're using, maybe Solid Verify and Turning and maybe 1 or 2 of the others. You can have just those showing when you go into Solid Verify. Now, there is something that you will see that's new. It says target loading with CAM tolerance or with CAD tolerance. Faster loading, but rougher target. I generally use CAM tolerance. If you have a nice computer, you can use CAM tolerance. If your computer's kind of clunky and it's really running slow, I would go with CAD tolerance. Obviously, the visuals won't be as nice, but it'll give you a better performance in your system. So, machine simulation. I do use my machine simulations. That's what we were talking about here, but you may not have it, so you don't have to worry about this path if you don't have machine simulations. But I want to take mine to the tables machine sim folder. So we'll go down to, whoops, wrong one, tables, machine sim folder. And I'm going to go ahead and turn on enable verification, which is Solid Verify. It actually passes the stock information from Solid or from InventorCAM over to the Solid Verify. So I do like using that. This is a good thing not to check because this is for specialized gouge checking. If you have it on and you're wondering why it checks all these points and gives you a message of things that are in and out of tolerance, that's because this is on. You only need this if you're doing very specific things. So by default, it should be off, and you should probably leave it off. Geometry, nothing to do in here, no values to set. They're pretty good. Let's go ahead and go down to spin and feed defaults. Now, every tool that you create, it wants to have some default feeds and speeds. This is just something to have some values in there. You don't have to set it. You can leave it just as it is. Every tool is going to have its own feeds and speeds, especially something like a center drill versus a half-inch end mill. They're going to be vastly different. So it's impossible to set these, but the system would like something to go off of just as a default. Again, you can leave them right where they're at because you're probably going to be changing your feeds and speeds when you create a tool. Colors, obviously, we're in defaults here, so you can change, pick highlight. It doesn't have to be yellow. It can be any color you want, or what your clamps look like, when you're showing the tool, what open edges, what color they should be. And, of course, you can load the defaults here. CAM tree. This allows options to become available to you on the CAM tree, so you can right-click and you can say show coordinates in tree, or you can show tool numbers, or any one of the other ones. I just like those two. Those particular two I like. But you can test them all out, see which ones work the best for you. CAM messages. Now, especially in the beginning, there'll be a lot of CAM messages. Ones that when you get done chaining something, it'll say, is it okay to accept this dialog box? If you don't want to see this okay, accept dialog box dialog again, go ahead and select here. If you select there, it deselects it in here. So you can always turn your CAM messages back on. So if you are turning them off like crazy in the first little while, don't worry, you're just unselecting them in here. Templates. Again, I want to browse to my tables inch template defaults, and then we'll come back and discuss this. So, tables inch templates default. Now what templates are is for every single toolpath up in the right-hand corner up here, you'll have a save and an open icon for opening templates or saving templates. So you can fill out all of the information like your path, your tool, your depths, your side step overs, your step downs, all the information about that particular toolpath, and then you can save it as a template. Well, you can have more than one template. Maybe there's something you always want set on or off in a particular template or a particular toolpath like face or profile or pocket. Well, you can simply set all the settings that you always want to use, save it as a template, then you can come in here and check it and grab your favorite template. It'll list them all. You can grab your face or your favorite face template and make it always as a default, so when you go to face, like 2-axis face, it comes up with that template automatically. So there's not things you have to remember. It's already preset. And again, you can have, you can have templates for everything. This is just 2D milling. You have iMachine, you have 3D, you have HSR, HSM. The list goes on. So if there's something specific that you do and you want the template for it, I would suggest using them. That can help cut down on your programming time. Tolerances, this is new, very kind of cool. 3D HSR, 3D HSM, and then point reduction, which is really arc fitting. You can set it as a pre-level, something that you always like to use, or you can change the values and preset it. It's totally up to you. Of course, you can do that for HSM, HSR, and HSS. So I'm going to leave mine alone, and I'm going to move on to machining processes. Nothing to do in here. Tool search, nothing to do in here. Tool tables. I definitely want to do import, and I do want to reset these paths right here. These are to my old things, and in case I want to import from my new location or export from my new location, actually, where's that going? Tables inch also. So D tables inch. Same for the export options. Also, this will also help set your path when you want to default to a particular location for a tool library. So definitely a good idea to use those. Let's see. Nothing else. Let's go ahead and move on to documentation. Don't need that. That I'm going to go ahead and leave alone because it's using the doc editor out of the SolidCAM install, and that's fine. Nothing to do in here. Parallel options. Nope. Nothing doing here. Inner operations, nothing. Now, miscellaneous. Just so you know, the way this autosave works, it's saving the whole part every 10 minutes. However, it incrementally saves every time you do something. So if you start a toolpath and you create a profile, or you create a tool, or you do something, editing or defining something, it incrementally saves in the background. So even though it will save the whole thing every 10 minutes, I believe you can set this at 0, and it'll still incrementally save in the background, so you're always up to date. I couldn't be wrong. I haven't tested that yet, but I leave it at 10. I still don't see it. Even every 10 minutes, I don't see that the system freezes up at all. In fact, you don't even know it's happening, but it is always being backed up. If you use a 3D constant or a 3D connection device, like a Space Mouse or Space Explorer, enable to use it in Solid Verify and a few other features, go ahead and turn it on. Installing the drivers for the device automatically make it work. This just gives it more functionality. I believe that's it. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and hit Save here. And save your configuration file somewhere where you know where it's at, in case everybody wants to use your settings, or if you have more than one person using this computer, you guys can have different configuration files and give it your own name here. But I'm going to go ahead and save this here. So now, if I was to reset this page, I could simply go back in, load up my defaults, and it's going to load back in everything that we see here that I've just set. What I would suggest doing is exiting InventorCAM and then loading the CAM settings again, meaning restart it, because then on your first CAM project, it'll use all those. If you just started a CAM project without closing it and opening it again, it would have used the old ones because it needed to be reread. So that is all we have for you today. If you have questions on other settings in here, shoot me an email. What I'm going to do is go ahead and put my name and my email address down below in the chat window. So if you want to request this video or this recording that I am recording, I'll send that to you as well. Or if you just have general questions about something. I also have other videos. I'm continuing to make new ones every week on Tuesday. So if you want any of those, just shoot me an email and I will send that out to you. Now, I don't see any questions. Generally, we take questions now, but since I don't see any questions, I think we're going to go ahead and end it for today. Like I said, though, if you got questions, if you think about it later, please shoot me an email. The email address is in the chat window. It's Darren.Bryant, that's D-A-R-R-I-N .Bryant, B-R-Y-A-N-T, at SolidCAM.com. Any questions at all. It doesn't even have to be about the videos. I'm also the trainer, so if you have any questions on anything, go ahead and shoot me an email. Appreciate your time today. Thank you for joining me. Next week is going to be the second class for SolidCAM. The week after that is going to be the second class for InventorCAM. So we'll take this further. We're going to get out of the settings and get into more of the menus and file management inside Inventor in 2 weeks. Please join me. Have a great day. We'll see you next time.